was only 21 years of age when we started. I didn't have any proper income, didn't know where my career is going to. I didn't know where my future would look like, but I just had that burning desire to make sure I give these people an opportunity to change their path. I had taken up this responsibility to educate kids that are not mine, I'm not related to, and I didn't know what kind of a burden I'm taking on. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Jambo Tena. So it's such a pleasure being here, seeing some familiar faces that I'd seen quite some time back, and new faces. The vibration I'm getting from you is actually making me tense. That means there are good people around here, and not tense in a bad way, but a positive tense. So I'm taking it in, and I'll ride with it. So thank you so much, Vincent, for welcoming me and honoring me to be part of Stories of Significance. It's quite an honor. Really appreciated your invitation. And thank each and every one of you for making time to be here today. Mr. Kwame just told me that he drove all the way from Voi to be here. I'm honored. That's a good gesture. Thank you so much. So to start, as Vincent has said, I'm Peter Kwame Mwakio, co-founder and director for Hatua Network. I'm not just my titles, but I'm also a son, a father, a husband, and a brother as well. So I prefer going with those titles because there are human connections around them. So my story today, I themed it, we raise by raising others. And I said so because of the journey that I've had, and who am I today, what I've been doing in the couple of years, and what I'm planning to do in the future. So I was born and raised in Mombasa, specifically Likoni, and I grew up in a big family of 7 kids. You understand, eh? Wale wazee wetu, like two is not enough, so you need more. So we are 7 kids. And I balanced them. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and then 2 brothers and a sister. So I'm the middle kid. And yeah, I'm happy because I saw my elder siblings grow, and they took care of me. And I also had the responsibility of taking care of my younger siblings and, seeing them grow as well. Growing up in Likoni wasn't that easy. For some of you who know Likoni, Likoni is among one of the poorest places in Mombasa. And growing up in Likoni is tough, because during my time, there were not many, I can say, economic activities or models that we could look up to. The only thing we used to see was, street vendors, people owning shops and all that. So there was no much aspiration, into life because of, what you're surrounded with. But that did not deter me from, getting to where I am. I went to public primary school in Consolata Primary School, and also a public secondary school in Likoni Secondary School. Very small schools. No one could actually, put them in the academic, calendar, because they're not that well-performing schools. It doesn't mean that I did not perform well. I've been an average student. I was an average student. I've been an average student throughout, and managed to go good enough marks to get me into college. So I can say my most formative years, teen years, in Likoni were actually based on what I used to see around, and aspiration to do something different from what I used to see were not there. Like, could only see, my sister is here, can attest. I think the biggest role model by then was someone who owns a shop, because, everyone goes there. Or a teacher that, you meet at school. Those are like the big professions that we used to see. And the motivation was not that much growing up. And a couple of my friends whom I schooled with, most of them ended up, into abusing drugs, early marriages, and, trapped in the same cycle of poverty that their family are in. But I was lucky. When I was in college, I was paired with my co-founder. Some of you have met her, Gabriel Fondila. And we did a research at the Likoni Ferry, the busiest market in Likoni. And the research was actually meant for us to understand how government policies are affecting street vendors and dynamics among Street Vendors Association. That was an eye-opener for me, because I got to interview a couple of families in depth, get to understand, their challenges, their fears, their desires. And we formed really close bonds because we could spend hours and hours with them. We spent time in their families. We shared, the meals that they had to get to understand them. We were at their kibandas, getting to understand their finances and all that. And one thing that stood out clearly was that they all had kids who were supposed to be in school, but none of them were in school. And their biggest fear was that their kids will end up doing the same thing that they've been doing, running a small business by the roadside, a business that they inherited from their parents, and they felt like their kids will still be trapped in the same cycle of poverty that they are in. And that was their biggest fear. Their biggest desire was for their kids to at least have access to a learning institution, get an education and lead a different life, get a profession and do something different from what their family has been doing. That stood out for us. Mind you, that was not what we are looking for, but that is what stood out for us. So we decided, what are we going to do? How are we going to help these families? Geared up with that burning passion and desire to see change, given that I've experienced the same challenges that these kids are experiencing. We set out to, make sure that they go to school. Mind you, I was only 21 years of age when we started. I didn't have any proper income, didn't know where my career is going to. I didn't know where my future would look like, but I just had that burning desire to make sure I give these people an opportunity to change their path. Because of one thing, brilliance is equally distributed, but opportunities are not. And these are kids who are suffering from that, lack of opportunity. But they were brilliant, From the interactions we had, we saw they were brilliant. So through friends and family, we managed to raise 57,000 Kenya shillings. That was in 2006. And we put 7 kids of those families in school. So we had no idea, we had no clue of what we were getting ourselves into. I had taken up this responsibility to educate kids that are not mine, I'm not related to, and I didn't know what kind of a burden I'm taking on. But I was just, passionate about it. I knew I have to play a role. This information came to me, or this information came to us with my co-founder, and I felt obligated to make sure that I do something to change their life. So we started off with those 7 kids, and I remember we took them to school. They were not the best of the students in their classes because they've been out of school for quite some time. And we decided okay, let's have weekly sessions with them, whereby we can, have mentoring session, get to know where the challenges are, and try to, address those. It was just, simple sitting under a tree. They share their challenges, and we try and solve them, just within the discussion that we're having. And that's how we developed our mentoring program. So we were we can look into how we can formalize this and make sure that we give them responses to the challenges that are most relevant, or we give them ways on how they are going to address, their challenges or prevent them from getting into those challenges. So we decided to looking at other organizations that were doing the same and started inviting them. Following year, we also formalized our application process for the scholarship, and we added 10 more students. This time we just went to schools, talked to the school principal, identified the most needy kids just by their appearance, those who had tattered uniform or those who have been sent, back home a couple of times, and we took those. And then the following year added another 14, and we've been building up the organization like that. It grew organically because none of us had the experience by then or the education to run an NGO. We were a CBO, and we grew based on the challenges that we were facing and the needs that the youths needed us to address. So back to my personal growth, or back to my personal story. This experience of growing up this organization, gave me a depth, an in-depth, understanding or touch with the youth in Likoni that you're serving. And I was so committed into giving them a different path so that they can, excel in life, excel in their profession and all that. And I forget to put a focus on my life as well. It was so committing for me to make sure that I deliver for these families. And, all parents, used to come to me because they're the face that was familiar with them, the entire team. And I took on a lot of challenges, and they weighed me down. It was, I can say, tough for me. And I remember to a point where I was just numb because of all this, and giving out, always giving out, and nothing to receive in return. But I also appreciate the parents, because some of them you could meet them randomly, and they could shower you with blessings. Unajua kina mama wetu, the way they are, utakutana naye kwa barabara, you have like a small discussion, and they bless you and thank you for, supporting their kids in school. So those blessings kept me going. I felt happy because I could see in their smiles that there is a promising future for their kids, and they really appreciated that. But in 2014, after I'd not focused enough on myself, a lot of things happened on a personal life. And my biggest learning was in 2014 when I separated with my then baby mama, and we parted ways. I had a daughter with her, and that was like the toughest moment in my life. It was bad because we had to fight over custody of my kid. And I remember we were in court a couple of times. I was given custody of the kid. We stay with the kid thanks to my wife who's here. He's taking good care of the kid. But I'm saying that was my toughest moment, and also my wake-up call, because I got to ask myself, what is my purpose on earth? Separate from what I'm doing with a tour. What am I really meant to do here? Where does my happiness come from? Is it just from, serving the community or working with the community or seeing these kids? Does it really give me that fulfillment? These are genuine questions that I never asked myself. I just used to say, I'm happy doing what I'm doing because I see other people happy. But what happiness meant to me, I didn't have an opportunity to look at it. And I remember that separation forced me to go back to my parents. I stayed with my parents for quite some time. It was tough after, staying on your own for a couple of years, then going back to your parents. It wasn't easy. I shifted my pain into working out, exercise. I remember I used to wake up very early, run to the beach, and, do a lot of exercise, and I could cry out, But that gave me power because I faced my challenges, and I was able to address my pain points. So I came to realization that we all have two lives, and we can only identify or realize our second life after the first one is lost. And for me, that was the point when I realized the first one is gone. I only have one more that I have to do things right. And while at my parents' place, I was with my daughter. I remember every single day I used to listen to Jaguar's song. By then, that was the time it came out. Hu mwaka ni wangu, nitarudi shule, like, something like that. So those were like kind of affirmation words for me. And I used to sing it every single day, every morning before I leave. That was what I used to do, my affirmation words. And it propelled me, to do that. Because I used to say, I'll go back to school, I'll get a home, I'll get a family, and I'll do all this. One thing, happened one at a time. I moved out, started my new home, found my lovely wife seated next to me here. After a year of dating, we got married, moved in together, started a life to where we are. We're blessed with 2 kids, plus my daughter, so that's 3. And we're all living under one roof, so it's an amazing process. I was able to go back to school. start focusing on myself, building myself, so that I can also be able to give, because I'd given so much that I didn't have anything else to give. And thanks to her, she gave me the love that I needed. It gave me confidence. It built me. I felt like full again, and I really appreciate you. So she's a strong woman. Going forward, I started looking inwards, like building myself so that I can be able to give more. And I remember when I said to go to school, that's when things started opening up. I first signed up to go finish up my diploma. And then after that, I was admitted at Amman Institute to do a postgraduate certificate in social innovation management. And after that, I remember I came to my wife and I told her that the Obama Foundation needs me, because I saw this advertisement on the Obama Foundation and I was looking at it and I felt like these people are talking to me. These people need me. And I've seen this quote saying that success is when preparation meets an opportunity. After all these years of investing in a tour, working with the youth, and then this application came in, I felt like I've been preparing myself for this opportunity. So this opportunity presented itself to me when I was, feeling like very confident, at my best, and I took a shot. And thanks to my wife, because I wasn't sure how she was going to take it, given that she was expecting our second kid, and I was to travel for almost a whole year. But she's a strong woman, very selfless and very supportive. And she gave away the comfort of me pampering her during a pregnancy for me to go back to school. So thank you for that. So I went back to school, Columbia University, for a whole year, and I did strategic management for nonprofit organization, which was quite an eye-opener for me. This opportunity, I do not take it for granted. I appreciate each and everyone who, I worked with during, my upbringing, in her tour, the parents, the kids who gave me an opportunity to serve them and work with them. They're the ones who made me, be able to take up this opportunity. And that's why I say we raise by raising others. I could not have, gotten this opportunity or have been prepared to take up this opportunity if I didn't do what I did for the community. Because what they were looking for is someone like me. The application had almost 2,000 applicants, and only 12 of us from across the world were identified. I had classes where I was attending with ministers, former ministers of government, members of parliament from international governments, and all that. So this opportunity also widened my thinking, my perspective on the work that I was doing in my community. It broadened my network. And it has given me a platform where I can be able to communicate, or I can be able to talk to people who can accelerate the work that we are doing. So we've seen a huge, a lot of changes or a lot of impact from this opportunity that I took in the US. I was in the US for an entire year. That was not my first time getting to US. I was in the US already 2 years back, and just for a short while. But I had a lot of culture shocks during this period when I was there for a whole year, because I got to meet people from all walk of life. I got to interact with everyone. But I can say cream for my stay there was when I got to meet Mr. Obama and shook his hand. It's not easy, by the way, getting to him. It wasn't easy. We were looking at, we were expecting maybe we'll have a roundtable discussion with him, during our stay. That never happened. We had a couple of workshops with him, but we never got to, sit with him until this day. We were in Chicago, and it was during his Obama week, like an entire week of events celebrating his work. And we were told that we are going to take a photo session with him. So we waited. We were actually screened, to make sure that we don't have anything. Even our phones were put aside, and we had to wait for almost 45 minutes to go line up before we could take that photo. I was lucky enough I was actually lined behind him where I was going to stand. So he came straight to me and, like, reached out to my hand and very firm handshake and was like, "You're the guy from Kenya." It shocked me. Like, I was out of words, Like, I knew he knew Swahili, so I said, "Habari gani?" And then he said, like, "You're the guy from Kenya?" He said, "Yes." But I was like out. I couldn't say anything else. So he moved on to, to shake the other people's hand. But that was it. That was the moment for me. I was like, okay, I've at least shook his hand. So he has that presence. He has that power. So that was quite a moment for me. And so coming back to Kenya, it was at the peak of COVID. And I was in US and in New York, to be specific. And the death in New York was just horrifying. I stayed in my room for an entire month. We had people delivering food. We were asked not to go out. Columbia University was sending us a lot of emails about COVID. The Obama Foundation was sending us a lot of email about COVID. And then news, it was like just everywhere. So it was a scary moment for me. I was like, this thing is going to explode. It's going to be, worldwide, and my family is back in Kenya. I don't know how, they're taking this, I don't know what will happen. I was like, I just need to go back home. I need to go back to my family. So I made the request, and then they said, like, okay, we'll make sure that every one of you travels back home in time to be with your family before the country closed down. So I was lucky. I took, I think, it was like the second last flight before they shut down international flights, and traveled back home. So I prepared my entire family. I told them, I'm coming home, but I'm not going to see you for an entire 2 weeks, because I don't know in my transit if I might come into contact with COVID. So I remember I came back and stayed at a friend's apartment for 2 weeks, and it was quite tough because everyone was worried. I was worried. I've gone through 2 airports that were pretty much exposed, and I didn't know. The government said that they are going to take my test, but they didn't show up. I had to call them, and call them a couple of times before they could come and take my test. They came on the last 13th day. They took my test. I had to extend another 3 days. She couldn't wait any longer. But the reason why she couldn't wait any longer, or the reason why it was tough for me to keep staying in quarantine, was because she was almost expecting. And she went into labor while I was in that room in Mombasa, a few, meters or like kilometers away, and I still couldn't see my family. So I stayed for like another week before I could see them. I was tested negative. I was happy to reunite with my family. Something that made me realize, the importance of family. Like, because I was thinking, like, if anything happens right now, who are the people I want next to me? And it was my family. So I saw the value, I realized the value of family at that particular time, especially when I was in US and it was tough and I could see all, this death due to COVID. And it gave me a good realization of, what love is. Love surpasses everything. And the people who are around you, the people who are, close to you, you shouldn't take them for granted. You should give them the attention, the priority that they deserve, and make sure that every moment you spend with them is worth the time. So I was lucky to get back home safe, spend time with my family. My parents were happy, but my dad, yes. My dad is this person who will never miss his presence. When I was coming back, he used to insist, like, you need to come straight home, you need to come straight home. COVID, no, there's nothing like COVID. You need to come straight home. We miss you. We need to give you, like a reception, a welcome reception and all that. But I was like, I don't want to come here and infect you. I've been exposed, like this. He didn't want to take any of that. But I made sure that I keep them safe. And everyone was safe. So talking about my dad is a huge inspiration to me because, as I said, he's someone whose presence cannot go unnoticed. He'll speak when he has to speak. He'll let you know when you're wrong. He'll let you know when you're doing something right. And he's been my pillar throughout. I'm actually here today doing what I do today. And I say it's because of, what his father did and what he did. Because In 2016, I was also lucky. I traveled to Washington, D.C., and I took a class with a perennial fellowship. It's a class that is designed for leaders like us, and it's designed for us to look inwards as a leader and not look outward. What do you have, in you to give, rather than, what do you have in you for you, rather than what you're always giving? So it gave me an opportunity to reflect on my life, and I asked myself a lot of questions. Why am I doing this? Why am I here today? So I had to look back, and I remember I had a couple of phone calls with my dad to get to understand, all that he did, which I'm going to share with you, what he used to do. And that's when he shared a story about his father. My grandfather passed when my dad was 3 years old, so he never got to see him. And he also struggled going to school. He always talked about, having a tattered short piece of cloth, going to school, and he was educated by the missionary, Catholic missionary, because we're in Taita, and, the Catholic first got into Taita. So he was lucky he was educated by those. But in his adulthood, he came to realize a notebook that his father kept. So it was interesting to get to learn that. So my dad, showed me all these notes. And then looking at my dad, because my dad also realized this later in his years, looking at my dad and the way we've grown up, we've always had a lot of people in our home. We were an average family. My parents were struggling. They were civil servants. My dad is a teacher by profession. My mom is a civil servant. But we always had cousins and even neighbors, staying at our place. And it's because of my dad. He had this open door policy, Anyone is welcome. Anyone who doesn't have food can come eat whatever we'll be eating. Anyone who doesn't have a place to sleep can always come and, share whatever we have. So we are always a full house. Even today, when I go back to my parents' home, I'll find a face that is not familiar, like it's someone else staying here, for a week or two. My sister can attest to that. We always have people in our house today. So it's that opportunity at perennial fellowship while in Washington gave me that understanding, and I get to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It's because of the events that happened way back when my grandfather used to support kids in school, and my father, supporting my cousins and neighbors' kids in school. So I'm just part of, a bigger story, that has been going in for generations. And I hope it will get to continue, and maybe Vincent will ask me to come again in the next 5 or 10 years, or my daughter in the future to come and continue the story. So I since realizing that, I've always put my dad very close to me, because he knows way more than what I already know. The ways of his dad from his research that he did, and his commitment to serving the community, because that is what he's been doing his entire life. And my aspiration is to make sure that I get to inspire more kids. I get to inspire more youth from my community, because growing up in Likoni, in a small village called Bwanajuma Mchetu, and going to Consolata Primary School, Likoni Secondary School, and getting to New York and shook Obama's hand, it's a clear indication that no matter where you are, no matter where you're coming from, you can as well do what you desire to do. So my biggest learning I can say is that always believe in yourself. You are the bearer of your dreams. And no one else can achieve those dreams if not you. So no matter how small or big the dream is, you are the one entitled to make that dream come into reality. So for me, growing up in Likoni, that small area, and doing what I did, to make sure that I support these kids and get to school, gave me that opportunity to also grow my career and meet different people. Fast Track Forward today, at our tour network, we are supporting 650 youth. A couple of them have graduated from university. We have lawyers, doctors, name them, from across the board. Our team has grown from only 2 people to 21 staff members. Our programs have been, developed to, meet the standards. We are currently working in redesigning our mentoring curriculum. Daniel is here. He's our program manager. And we have an excellent team. All the achievement that we have today with the 650 students, it's not only based on what I've done, but based on the team that I have. My work is actually to just build the team, motivate the team, get them to understand the bigger vision that we have, and they also give their best. They are a passionate team. They work, with the entire heart in making sure that we achieve our goal. So today, we can say we are proud. This year, we've opened up our application to the entire Mombasa population of 1.2 million people. We're looking at recruiting 100 students this coming year. And the last couple of weeks, we've been moving to the farthest corners of Mombasa, getting to make sure that we provide our scholarship to the most needy and deserving students in Mombasa. So the program is growing, and I'm proud of the achievement that we have. And looking at the bigger goal is that we are going to have a bigger pool of professionals from Mombasa who are going to, actually impact or achieve the impact or the vision that we as a tour see. So for now, I can say that's my story, and that is season 1. So hopefully season 2 will come in 5 years or 10 years. And thank you so much for listening.